Halløjsa. Jeg håber, at I kan lide The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Jeg har lige kigget på, hvad I har skrevet, jeres afleveringer, og det er jo det der med at kalde det afleveringer, det er det jo ikke. Det er jeres noter til de opgaver, som I nu har fået. Og så vil jeg lige komme med sådan lidt generelt feedback, noget som I skal være opmærksom på, nu her hvor I læser videre. Allerførst så vil jeg lige sige, at det ser rigtig fint ud det I laver. Jeg kan se I har brugt tid på det, og jeg kan se I har en god forståelse for romanen. Om I lytter til den, eller om I læser den, det er jo sådan set mig lige meget. Jeg håber, at hvis I lytter til den, at det måske kan gøre, at I kommer en lille smule væk fra skærmen. Det er i hvert fald en af formålene med, at I fik det som lytte noget. Det er også nogle gange, fordi det kan være rart at lytte til noget frem for at skulle læse noget. Men jeg synes altså, at I laver et godt stykke arbejde, og så klø på. I gør det faktisk ret godt. Der er lige nogle ting i romanen, som jeg lige synes, at vi skal snakke lidt om, eller som jeg lige vil fortælle lidt om. Sidste gang her, i fredags, der skulle I lave en characterization af Christopher, og I skulle i særdeleshed kigge på det her med, hvordan er det, han oplever verden. So I think I'll do it in English. Christopher is a guy, even though it's not explained in the novel. He has Asperger's, which is an autism diagnosis. He also explains that he doesn't tell lies. He's very matter of fact kind of a guy. He's very concrete. He likes when there's structure. He likes systems, and he refrains from people touching him. So in that way, he has many of the typical traits from the autism diagnosis. Something that is explained in the way that he experienced the world is in how he defines his mother, or how he describes her. So we'll just have a look at that. Here I've just found the novel. It's chapter 37. It's on page 24. Here he explains mother. He says, "Mother was a small person who smelled nice, and she sometimes wore a fleece with a zip down in front, which was pink, and it had a tiny label which said Berghaus on the left bosom." So this is a typical way for Christopher to see the world. He notices how people smell, or how things smell, and then he's very detailed orientated. He has a very high focus on small details, which is also why we have this, he's a perfect detective in that way, because he notices small details. But it also means that there is something that he doesn't notice. And in this description of his mother, he's not telling us anything about how she's a mother to him, what kind of person she is, what's behind that fleece with a zip down. He doesn't actually tell us how she looks, besides the fact that she's small. So we don't really know anything about her from this primary description of her, this very early description of her. This is a typical way for Christopher to see the world. I'll also just point you to the interaction there is between Christopher and his father when they are talking about what's going on with his mother. So here I'm on page 28, and it's about the fact that his father comes home from work and his mother is not there anymore. So here in the middle of the page, on page 28, it says, he asked whether I had seen Mother. I said that I hadn't seen her, and he went downstairs and started making some phone calls. I did not hear what he said. Then he came up to my room and said that he had to go out for a while, and he wasn't sure how long he would be. He said that if I needed anything, I should call him on his mobile phone. He was away for 2.5 hours. When he came back, I went downstairs. He was sitting in the kitchen, staring out of the back window down the garden to the pond and the corrugated iron fence and the top of the tower of the church on Manstead Street, which looks like a castle because it is Norman. So again, we can see that he has a very high focus on detail. His mother is missing, and he's telling us how things are looking outside, when he's looking out the window. Then his father said, I'm afraid you won't be seeing your mother for a while. He didn't look at me when he said this. He kept on looking through the window. And then he says something that's really interesting now, because Christopher is flawed in the way that he doesn't see the world the way that normal people would, but he has a very high knowledge of himself. Right down here on the bottom of page 28, it says, usually people look at you when they're talking to you. I know, oops, shit. I know that they're working out what I'm thinking, but I can't tell what they're thinking. It's like being in a room with a one-way mirror in a spy film. But this was nice, having Father speak to me, but not look at me. So he's well aware of the fact that he doesn't see the world the same way, that there is some kind of flaw to how he experiences things, that other people can trade, can figure out how people are feeling from the way that their faces look, and that's not something that Christopher is able of. So I'll just read further on, and then I'll just explain what's actually going on here. He said, "Why not?" He waited for a long time. Then he said, "Your mother has had to go to hospital. Can we visit her?" I asked, because I like hospitals. I like the uniforms and the machines. Father said no. I said, "Why can't we?" And he said, "She needs rest. She needs to be on her own." I asked, "Is it a psychiatric hospital?" And Father said, "No, it's an ordinary hospital. She has a problem with her heart." I said, "We will need to take food to her," because I knew that food in hospital was not very good. David from school, he went to hospital to have an operation on his leg to make his calf muscle longer so that he could walk better. And he hated the food, so his mother used to take meals in every day. Father waited for a long time again and said, "I'll take some in to her during the day, and when you're in school, I'll give it to the doctors so they can give it to your mom, okay? But you can't cook." So again, we see that instead of focusing on, when the father has just told him that his mother has a problem with her heart, that sounds pretty serious. That's not what he focuses on. He focuses on the detail. He focuses on the fact that she needs food, and he has learned from a guy in school that food in hospitals are good. This is a fact in Christopher's brain, a fact that cannot be changed in any way. He cannot process that, well, maybe that is just David from school who thinks that and not everyone. So what is actually going on here is that because the way Christopher sees the world, there are some things that aren't told. We only see it from Christopher's perspective. It's also what makes it a really interesting story to read, I think, but it's also what makes it perhaps a bit difficult sometimes, because from this, she's not in the hospital. And, from the way that we experience the world, those of us who don't have autism, the father reacts in a weird way. The mother is missing, and then suddenly she's in a hospital, but they can't see her, and Christopher can't visit her. That's not a normal way for a father to react. It's not a normal way for a parent to react. So Christopher doesn't know that his father is lying, because it's not a part of what Christopher is capable of. He doesn't lie, so that's a fact to him. Lies are non-existent. He knows that it perhaps exists, but it's not something that he understands. And he definitely cannot understand when his father does it to him, because he focuses so much on the smaller details that he actually doesn't see what's actually going on. So the mother is definitely not in the hospital, we know that. We'll also have a look at what actually happened here later on. So he later says that mother is dead, and that's again where the father lies, and that's also perhaps where this story shifts away from being about a dead dog and a detective story to something else. So det var bare lige det, at jeg lige ville sådan lige lave sådan en lille nærlæsning med det her, og den her konsekvens det har, at Christopher han har den her diagnose, og at det er fra hans synspunkt vi ser tingene. Vi snakkes ved.